Hello and welcome to Wake Up and Smell the Mic S&P 500 review for Wednesday, June 21st, 2023. It's now the 20th. We start off in the S&P 500 weekly chart looking back to the COVID crash era. I'll zoom into the current area, but first I want to explain some changes I made to the weekly chart. First, I changed the Bollinger Bands, which are in red, upper and lower, to the true low instead of the close. And the reason for doing that is so that it makes it even harder to puncture it to the downside, but follow closely to where the downdrafts are, such as during this downdraft in 2022. There was a breach back here in the COVID crash era, so that's a nice setting to do that with. Also, and it may be hard to see, during this updraft of 2019 running up into the end of December, there were several punctures of the Bollinger Band to the upside here, a couple of closes and some punctures, so that's a good setting too, as that was an extreme time back then. Next, I have added the weekly Stark bands in black, so here's the upper and the lower and the mid band, and here's the Bollinger Band mid band, which is a 39-week moving average. And the upper and lower bands of the Bollinger Bands use a 2.5 standard deviation, so 0.5 more than the default. I'll zoom into the current area now. So the weekly chart is also on the D wave up wave 3 like the daily chart, and the D wave up wave 4 will print on a tick lower than this low for this bar for this week. Next week it will be this bar over here. And if the D wave up wave 4 prints, it will be validated at this 38.2 Fibonacci retracement at 4221.28. So similar to the daily chart, it will be validated before the D wave up wave prints the D wave up wave 4. You can see the upper Bollinger Band was punctured the other week on the 11th, and that's going to be really hard to do with the new settings that I had just explained. And this week is coming pretty close to the top of it too, but not quite touching it yet. And the weekly chart has had closes for 4 weeks in a row above the channel 3 high, so that's really pushing the limit of that. For the daily chart, I say 5 is the extreme, so 5 days above it. Here we've had 5 weeks above it, along with the puncture of the Bollinger Band to the upside, and actually a close above it, and it almost nailed the upper Stark band. So price would need to come down and have a close below the channel 3 high for this week or possibly next week, and that would make it 5 weeks in a row. And I've moved my eventual upside target for the S&P 500 to 4630.43, this wave up projection for D wave up wave 3, as long as the D wave up wave 4 does not print. So again, this low for the next month or so, we would need to get below that low, and then it might print. If it stays above it and keeps going, this is the eventual target here. And again, This is DeMark's version of the up projection for D wave 3, and my projection using closes is 4478.49, and DeMark uses highs and lows. So 4478.49 puts it somewhere between the upper Bollinger Band and the upper Stark Band. So the S&P 500 weekly price decides to get under the Channel 3 high in an expedient fashion. Then there's the middle band of the Stark Band at that level, and right under it is an ongoing demand line, which we just call support line in the weekly chart at that level. It's right next to each other, middle band and that support line. And the weekly conversion line is under there at that level. And then way to the downside for right now, the lower Stark Band and the baseline and Channel 3 low are pretty much right together. The lower band of the Stark Band, 4126, is a little higher than the other two. And Megaphone is on the cell 6 and count 6. And the cell 7 and count 7 will print on a low lower than the low on October 9th for that week. So 3491.58. It would need to tick lower than that to print that Megaphone 7 down here. So more than likely another Megaphone 5 and 6 pattern will start to form sometime. So the closest Megaphone pattern to the downside is a Megaphone 3. So it has a long way to go before it prints another 7. Have a great day.